This episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most important things in producing media, craft services. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're going to be talking about assets. Roll the opener. Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Screen, the show where we look at media and see how it was made and why it was made the way it was. I'm your host, Victor Frost. So let's start with the most basic question. What is an asset? Now I looked online and in some of my old textbooks from my college days, and either the definition was in another context or it was too broad to really define it in any appreciable way. But I wasn't going to let that stop me, so I came up with one that fits the understanding that me and a lot of my friends in the media industry share about what an asset is. Simply put, an asset is media used in the construction of other media. This part, used in the construction of other media, is key because it narrows the scope of what is and isn't an asset to be dependent on what's being done with it. Here are some examples. My sister made a painting. The painting itself isn't an asset, but the picture I took of that painting for this video is. A picture of a cat is not an asset, but add some text to it and the text and the picture itself become assets for a cat macro. This video of me, on its own, is not an asset, but it becomes an asset when used in this video. The important takeaway here is that a piece of media can happily exist on its own, but when it's used in creating another piece of media, it becomes an asset. This duality is possible for all media, which is why constraining the definition to this particular context, that it must be used in making media to be an asset, is so important. But when can you actually use an asset? This brings us to the most fun topic in the world. Licensing! Okay, so I lied about it being the most fun topic in the world, but it is possibly the most important concept you need to understand about making media, so we'll call it square. When you get a driver's license, you're given permission to use a vehicle on public roads. In the same way, media licenses give you permission to use media in your project in public. But rather than a single license applying to all media, like a driver's license does for roads, more often than not, you have to get a license for every piece of media you want to use. This applies to images, music, sound effects, video, text, literally any piece of media still covered by copyright. And for most media, under most cases, you have to pay for that license. At this point, we're starting to approach the line of what I can and cannot say without a disclaimer, so let's get that out of the way right now. Allow me to make this 100% perfectly clear. I am not a lawyer, and I am not an expert on copyright law. Although I have done my research and I'm confident what I say in my videos is correct, what I say is and only can be to the best of my unprofessional, untrained knowledge, and may not apply to you or your particular situation. As always with matters involving legal knowledge, seek professional advice from your lawyer or legal counsel. Alright, with that boilerplate out of the way, let's get back to the video. So when it comes to licensing media, there are two things you're going to have to be aware of for every piece of media you want to license. What you're giving and what you can do with what you're getting. For all the stuff I'm going to be linking you to, the most you're going to have to give is attribution. Credit, basically. But in most cases, getting licenses for assets will require you to give up some cash. High quality assets can sell for a ton of money. A single piece of 4K stock footage can run you up to $200, while a copy of the BBC Complete Sound Effects library will run you about $5,000. This fee is the royalty, a term that originated from the practice of paying the royal crown a fee for permission to do things like mine ore from royally owned land. And like royalties of yore, the fee you pay for assets grants you permission to use them. Now, not all assets or licenses are the same, so read carefully before you buy, but generally speaking, purchasing a license entitles you to use the asset in a new piece of media and profit from that new work, but does not allow you to sell the asset or profit from the asset on its own. For example, you can take an asset like a song and use it in your indie film, but you can't sell that song as part of the soundtrack for the film. That would require a completely different, often more expensive license. Royalty-free licenses work exactly the same way, except there's no royalty to pay. You just agree to the terms of the license, hence royalty-free. The next kind of license you need to know about are Creative Commons licenses. I'll post a link to a video that explains it in more detail, but here's the short version. Putting a work under a Creative Commons license is a way for an author to give people automatic permission to use or share their works as long as they follow certain rules. And how open or restrictive these rules are is up to the author. It can be as open as, do anything you want with it, just give me credit, to as closed as, you can use this, but not for anything that directly makes money, you can't change it in any way, and you have to give me credit. The author can even make sure that anyone who uses their work makes their work open to use too by requiring them to share alike. And as long as you follow the rules of the license, it's irrevocable, meaning that even if the author doesn't like how you're using their work, they can't stop you from using it. Finally, there is the public domain. A work under the public domain doesn't require a license to use because, strictly speaking, it's not protected under copyright. It belongs to the public at large and can be used by anyone for anything. The original author has no rights over the work. There's a bit more to it than that, so I'll post a link to another video that explains that in more detail. Due to the messiness of international copyright law regarding what is and isn't under the public domain, a comparable license has been created by the Creative Commons organization called CC0, or No Rights Reserved. This license has been created to allow artists to willfully waive their rights over their work, even that of attribution, without requiring any form of registration or legal process. Think of it as, I can't believe it's not public domain. So now that you know what assets are and how to know how you can use them, it's time for me to give you my top 6 places to get assets. Why 6 instead of 5? Because we like to go a step beyond. These aren't in any particular order, rather they are 1 or 2 places I go when I need stuff like images, videos, sound effects, or music. First off is Flickr. Owned by Yahoo, Flickr is a fantastic place, not just to share pictures, but to find pictures to use. Since it basically started, it has been allowing users to license their photos under Creative Commons and public domain licenses. And now that they're partners with museums, libraries, archival organizations, they have one of the biggest libraries of images available free of charge. Freesound is another site that believes in the spirit of open content. In fact, that's all they're about. Literally every single one of the nearly 300,000 sounds was uploaded by their members, myself included, for you to use for free. In fact, many of the sound effects used on my channel have come from Freesound. SoundCloud is my first stop when looking for music. They don't have the biggest library of free music, that title probably belongs to Jamendo, but unlike Jamendo, you can actually search all of SoundCloud by license, which is amazing. Just use your common sense when searching though. It seems a lot of people don't understand that you can't remix or cover a fully copyrighted work and license it under the Creative Commons. Also, check out Dig CC Mixter. They're a great place to look too, and they recently had a site redesign. There are a lot of places I go to find videos, but Pixabay does a great job of bringing many of those places together in one searchable site. Everything is licensed as CC0, which means it's effectively in the public domain. For older videos that are truly under the public domain, I go to archive.org, specifically the Perlinger Archives, which houses stuff like classic commercials, newsreels, and propaganda films, like this one defending the Japanese internment during World War II.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move.
There's one more site that deserves a mention, even though it doesn't really fit in with these others in terms of being a source of free media assets. One of my biggest asset collections isn't filled with things I use a lot, but I have them because they're high quality and they were free. Every week, Creative Market gives away 6 of the items normally sold on their store. And these aren't crappy little things meant to be given away. These are high quality products. Resume templates, website templates, fonts, logos, mockups, clip arts, PowerPoint templates, stuff that'll run you $10 or $15 per license. Lots of times I've downloaded something from there, saved it away, and then had a need for it months later. Boom, money saved. In fact, the website for my production company was made using a template from Creative Market that would have cost me $11 and a free video from Pixabay. I've downloaded nearly 300 different things from Creative Market, adding up to probably close to $1,000 in value, for free. Seriously, go sign up for a Creative Market account and get in on this stuff. It's worth it. Alright, that's it for assets for the time being. For links to all these sites and many more, hit the link in the description. Next episode, we're going to look into the history of sound in media. I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you next time on Behind the Screen.